Welcome to part 2 about secondary function chords. So just by nature, these are really confusing and kind of hard to explain because there's a lot that goes into them. So one thing that helps me with something that's really difficult to explain or to think through is if I figure out how to do it backwards. So I've written some things out, not on staff paper, to hopefully make it less confusing-ish, I think. So I wrote this out, and it's kind of like a step-by-step guide. And so my suggestion is that you kind of write down the questions that I ask myself onto a sheet of paper for yourself. So when you're studying and stuff for the test, you can ask yourself these same questions and use it to check your work and stuff like that. So we're going to work through this backwards, and then we will work through the same chord forwards. So we have a 5 of 6 chord in the key of F major. So in order to figure out what chord this would be, the first question I ask myself is, what is the 6th scale degree in F major? The 6th scale degree in F major is D. Alright? So then I think to myself, okay, so yeah, because of the 6. Then we gotta deal with the 5. So the next question is, what is the 5th scale degree in the key of D? And that answer is A. Therefore, an A major triad is the result of a 5 of 6 in the key of F major. I hope that helps, but we're going to go through it forwards now, okay? So, we're in the key of F major. We see an A, C sharp, and E written. We realize that this is an A major chord. I would then ask myself, in what key is A the 5th scale degree? And a way to figure that out is, what is down a perfect 5th from A? Okay? The answer to that question is D is down a perfect 5th from A. Or A is up a perfect 5th from D. And then I would ask, what scale degree is D in the key of F? And that is 6. So, oh, I didn't write the final conclusion. So, except 6 should be minor. I did that incorrectly up here. Should be a lowercase one like that. So you end up with a 5 of 6, which is what we ended up with when we did it backwards. So that's a good thing. So I don't know if this will actually help you doing it backwards on the test, to check your work. I mean, you could, but I think it just helps get the whole concept better. I hope I didn't just confuse you more. So next, let's look at some secondary leading tone chords. These are chords that are built on the 7th scale degree of a different key. So we're looking at this example in orange that I once again highlighted for you because I'm so nice. Okay, this example, these are all in the key of C, so yeah, it's kind of boring. But anyway, this is a C sharp, E, G, B flat chord. You have a diminished triad and another diminished triad, as I've notated here. Or you can look at it as a diminished triad with a diminished 7th. That's how you know that it is a diminished chord, okay? A diminished 7 chord. Its diminished 7 chords occur on the 7th degree of a scale. So you make it a 7, diminished 7. They forgot the 7, the diminished on the computer, so I wrote that in. And then you have to figure out what is the bottom part. And so in order to do that, you look at the root of the chord, which is C sharp, and you ask yourself, in what key is C sharp 7? In what key is C sharp the 7th scale degree? And then I would think to myself, okay, a 7th below C would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 D, or you can just think, up a second. I find that easier. Anyway, in the key of D, C sharp is 7. Now we have to think in the key of C natural, and what D would be in the key of C natural, and in the key of C natural, D would be 2. So that's where we get 7 diminished 7 of 2. So yeah. So kind of the same thing with the secondary leading tones. We have, once again, working through one backwards. We're in the key of C minor, and we have a 7 diminished 7 chord, or 7 diminished 7 of 4 chord. So, if you ask yourself, what's the 4th scale degree in C minor, because we're figuring out this bottom part first, the 4th scale degree in C minor is F, the 7th scale degree of F is E, so that means that 7 diminished 7 of 4 in C minor is an E diminished 7 chord. Got it? First of all, I'd like to point out on the last one I did, the 4s should have all been small 4s, not capital 4s. That was an error on my part. But now we're going to work through that one front ways in even a slightly different way to hopefully help this make more sense. So I've kind of mapped it out here. So you see a chord that is E, G, B flat, D flat. You are in the key of C minor. So you recognize that this is an E diminished 7 chord because E, G, B is a diminished triad. G, B flat, D flat is a diminished triad, or first one's diminished triad, this is a minor 7th. You end up with a diminished 7 chord. Diminished 7 chords fall on the 7th scale degree of any given key, but E is not the 7th scale degree of the key of C minor. So you ask yourself, in what key is E the 7th scale degree? That question there. Okay? So then you go down and you and you realize, that in the key of F, E is the 7th scale degree. Then you realize that this chord is taking place in the key of F. So you need to figure out how to notate that you're in the key of F for that one chord when the whole rest of the song is in the key of C minor. So you need to figure out what scale degree F is in the key of C minor. So what scale degree is F in C minor? Well, what do you know? It's the 4th scale degree of C minor. So you end up with a 7 diminished 7 of 4. Okay? I've also written out this little explanation at the bottom that states a diminished 7 chord on the 7th scale degree of the key of F. That's kind of what you ended up with. So this E, G, B flat, D chord is a diminished 7th chord built in the key of F. F is the 4th scale degree of the key of C minor. So hopefully that helps that make a little bit more sense to everybody. So we're going to take a look at a another chord, and this has a little bit of another challenge in there. This one's in an inversion. So in this example, we are in the key of B minor, and we have a B flat, G, E, D chord. Yep, that's correct. We have B flat, G, E, D. Now, this is a key with sharps, and there's a flat here. So that should raise a red flag of, let's look at this closer. Could this possibly be a secondary function chord? I think it might be. So the first thing you should do is put this into root position. So root position of this chord is E, G, B, flat, D, right? And then I always underline the note that's in the bass, okay? Just so I remember that. So we have this E chord, and next thing we need to do is figure out what kind of E chord this is. It's obviously a 7 chord of some sort because it has 4 different notes within it. So the first thing we need to look at is, what is this triad? E, G, B flat is a diminished triad. And the next triad, G, B flat, D, is a minor triad. So this ends up being, you can also look at it as a E2D is a minor 7th. And so this ends up being a half diminished chord, and half diminished 7 chords appear on the 7th scale degree. So we have a secondary dominant that is a secondary leading tone, and, or not, I said secondary dominant, a secondary function chord that is a secondary leading tone chord as well. And now we just need to figure out what key is being represented in this secondary function chord. In order to do that, we need to look at the root of the chord, which is E, okay? So I'm going to circle it to remind myself that's the root. E is the root of this chord, and so we need to be thinking, in what key is E the 7th scale degree? So you find E on the staff, and that one's down low, so I'm just going to count up from like this E here. So if I go a 7th down, or a 2nd up, I end up on F. And in the key signature, that would be an F sharp. So, no, just F. Just F. Scratch that. My brain started wandering to something that is not correct. So, you'll be thinking in the key of F, because that is down a minor 7th from E, okay? And, yeah. And so, we are thinking now in the key of F, okay? I'm going to write this off to the side. And we're thinking in the key of F now. But we need to figure out what this is. So, then you think, in what key, or excuse me, in the key of B minor, what scale degree is F? So if you find a B on the staff, you can count up until you reach the F. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or you can think in your triads and be like, okay, B, B, D, F. F is the 5th. So we ended up with a 7 half diminished 7 of 5. Except it's not 7 half diminished 7 because it's in an inversion. I almost messed up again. I'm doing great right now, guys. It would be 7 half diminished 7, 4, 3. Because it is in second inversion. Thanks for watching. Out of time. Bye!